Hey there guys, Next Striker here, back again for another video, and today we're going to be discussing Nintendo, the big juggernaut of the video game industry, which has recently been under flack by a lot of gamers, and, well, for a notable cause. And, a lot of people have been saying, and, most of these being people that don't play Nintendo or have not recently been on the Wii U or Wii trend, say that, Nintendo's a failure, they're going to flop, they're going to go bankrupt, blah, blah, blah. Is there any validity to this, and is this eventually going to be the truth? Now, will the Wii U bankrupt Nintendo? The answer is no. There is no way that that's possible. It can't happen. Because even if the Wii U didn't sell at all, I still think Nintendo would have enough money and assets and blah, blah, blah to be successful. They're a huge company. But I do agree with a lot of the criticism that Nintendo has received for the Wii U, for the Wii, and for their consoles and stuff in general. Nintendo, for the last two generations, has not been doing too good with the consoles. Now, the Wii was really successful. Now, I'm not going to deny the Wii was extremely successful, and what it had going for it was really good. The motion controls, they were really cool at first. I remember getting it when it came out. It was awesome to play that for the first time. It was revolutionary. But the problem that Nintendo is now suffering, and we saw this with the Wii and then with the Wii U, is that they are alienating themselves. And it's not like gamers are doing this. I mean, some people will be like, oh no, screw this platform, I'm all for this platform. And Nintendo themselves has isolated themselves away from their competition. They're no longer competing with Sony and Microsoft and the gaming community. They are in their own league by themselves. Like, they literally just don't care. They are doing what Nintendo wants to do. Now, if Nintendo was doing a good job and they were being revolutionary and innovative, blah, 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 that'd be cool. But the Wii U is not up to par at all. It is a last-gen console. I'm sorry, it just is. I mean, compare it to a current-gen PC or compare it to the PS4 or the Xbox One. It just isn't holding up. Now, that's not to say that it's, like, not somewhat impressive, because it is up there with the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and the graphics are good and all that stuff. But Nintendo is simply relying too much on their gimmicks and not enough on the actual system power, which is what I have a problem with Nintendo. Now, for those of you who can say, oh, well, you're a hater of Nintendo, I have owned, well, the only two consoles I don't own of Nintendo is the NES and Super NES, and that being, I wasn't alive when all that was big. At least I don't think it was. The Nintendo 64 was the big thing when I was old enough to play video games, and that was my first game system. Ever since then, I got the GameCube, Wii, and the Wii U. And the Wii U is so disappointing to me. It had potential, and it still does. It just, no one utilizes it. And I think the problem with Nintendo is that not only are they alienating themselves, which is really, really hurting their community and the people that want to get into their stuff, is that they are, alienating themselves, but also is that, a lot of the big debate with people now is, oh, well, Nintendo, or the exclusive thing is, people are big into exclusives, and they're, they say, well, this console is the best because it has so many exclusives, blah, blah, blah. But with Nintendo, it's actually the exact opposite. Nintendo does have a lot of exclusives. I mean, I don't think anyone can really say they don't. But the problem with Nintendo is that they don't have anything else. They don't have third-party support, which is a majority of the games out. It's important to have exclusives, but it's also important to have third-party support, because if you're banking on exclusives and you're not pumping a lot of them out, which Nintendo has not been doing on the Wii U, then your console is just going to be stale, and that shows. A lot of people are not satisfied with the Wii U, and it's not doing really good with the sales. Now, like I said, that's not going to bankrupt them, but the real question is, where does this leave Nintendo in the future? With Nintendo being in a situation like this, and, if you like the Wii U and you like where Nintendo's going, that's fine. I'm not saying, like, the Wii U is, like, this horrible, horrible thing, but to me it's extremely disappointing, because I'm more impressed with the PS3. I mean, that's like my favorite. That's my favorite console of the last generation. But that and the Xbox 360 are just they just seem better to me. I mean, like it has low memory, the online is not there, it doesn't have that many games, etc., etc. So, all of this stuff going against Nintendo makes you wonder, well, where are they going to go in the future? Are they still going to be developing consoles? Are they going to go strictly to the development side of things? What are they going to do? And what are they going to do with the Wii U? Because the Wii U is very underutilized now. They've taken the 3DS and they've been doing a good job with the 3DS. That thing has got a lot of really good games now. A lot of people are liking it, and handhelds they always have succeeded with. I mean, there's no denying Nintendo and handhelds go hand in hand. No pun intended. But their consoles these last two generations have just been lacking. Like the last few years, Nintendo has had a couple of their first party games come out, which, by the way, their first party games are typically pretty good. Mario, Zelda, Smash Brothers, whatever. It's always really good. But when there's nothing in between, your console just sits there, doesn't do anything. Now, if that's what Nintendo was going for, okay, cool, but you're not going to make a lot of money with a system that doesn't have that many games. I mean, that's just the fact of it. At the end of the day, the Wii U could be some pixelated device and have these epic, amazing games, and if people bought games for it, it would be successful. But the Wii U it's lacking that. It's lacking it. So, where is Nintendo going to go? Well, I see this as going one of two directions. The Wii U is either going to stay a huge flop, or Nintendo is going to actually start developing a lot of games for it, because it doesn't look like Nintendo gives a crap about third-party support. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know why they don't do that, but it's irritating and it's frustrating that they're not going for third-party, and they're not going out of their way to do these sort of things for the people, the gamers, who are like legitimately concerned, and they're like, hey, Nintendo, please do this. They won't do it. So I'm hoping it's the second one, because no one wants to see Nintendo fail. That'd be awful. But who's to say? Now, as far as the other point I brought up, is Nintendo going to stay in the console development phase, or are they going to go strictly into development? I'm leaning towards the second one. Now, the reason is, will this happen in the near future? I'd say no. I don't think so. But if you just look at how Nintendo has been with their with mainly just the Wii U, but towards the later half of the Wii, I guess, they've really just been out of touch with everything. Like I said earlier, they've been in their own little world, and they just don't care. Like the Wii U, yeah, it was good, but it didn't come out 5 years ago or whatever, like when the other ones came out. So it's far behind. Nintendo doesn't care. They don't care about all these features that people want. Sony and Microsoft are catering to what people are into now. They're into media. They're into, high processing power. They're into these really intense graphics. They're into all of this stuff. And Nintendo's just like, well, whatever. We're just going to do what we want. And that's really not how you run a business, because, I mean, yeah, granted, Nintendo has a lot going for it, but that only goes so far. I mean, Nintendo is a big company, but look at Capcom. For years their whole thing was, well, we're just going to do whatever. We don't care what people say, and look where they are now. Not to say that they can't come back, but whatever. And not to say that Nintendo is in nearly as much of a situation as Capcom was in, but that's besides the point. The reason I think that they're going to go into the development phase is because, they've really just been the whole isolation thing. They didn't do an E3. They're so far behind that eventually they're just really not going to be that relevant. I mean, yeah, sure, their games are going to be fun, but if no one buys the system, it's just not going to cut it. I don't really see Nintendo staying in the console thing, because I mean, they're a big company, and that's just my opinion. Maybe they'll turn this around, but just the way that it's going now, and companies and things can change, I am just not seeing it. I'm just not feeling it from Nintendo. I just don't think they have what it takes to compete anymore. they just don't act like it, and they really just don't seem to care. And the way to fix this, the whole situation with Wii U, like I said, develop games and make new IPs, because I know a lot of people, including myself, get really tired of seeing Mario, Zelda, Smash Bros., Donkey Kong, Metroid, next console, Mario, Zelda, Smash Bros. I mean, not to say that those aren't good games. Like I said, they are good. But not all of those games are meant for all ages. Well, okay, technically they are. Most of them are E. But what I'm saying is, with other consoles, they tend to cater to all ages, or at least, have an older audience at some point, where Nintendo, unless you're a kid at heart, most of their games just don't appeal to the older audience, and that's me. Not to say that there isn't a huge kid audience. There's a huge kid audience, and there's nothing wrong with, looking forward to the next Mario or the next Zelda, which Zelda and Smash Brothers are the ones that I always play, so I do it too. But the thing is that, with something like Mario, I know it's going to be good, but it's Mario. It's not like this revolutionary, huge game that's going to be so cool and have all these different things, and it's dark and it's gritty, or maybe it's not dark and gritty, or it's just like more adult. I like more adult entertainment, like that's why in movies I go for PG-13 or R. That's why in video games I go for T and M. It's because it's more adult, it's more catering towards me. Nintendo, they just don't have it. So I just think they need to develop new IPs and need to have something for the older audience as well, rather than just catering to children, because that's really what they do. They cater to children, and they don't act like they have an older audience. And their older audience is really what's been keeping them afloat all this time, and they are not kids. They are, well, they're a lot older than me. Let's just say that. So, yeah, this is just a general discussion on Nintendo. I don't even know what the title of this thing's going to be called. Honestly, it was just a general discussion of Nintendo, kind of like their downfall and just where they're going to go in the future and what they're going to do. Tell me below what you guys think about this. I think it's an interesting topic, and let's hope that Nintendo can turn it around. But yeah, they definitely need to start changing some policies and getting their act together. But anyway, that's just me. So yeah, comment below, let me know, like if you like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.